Good evening everyone and welcome to an FOMC special live stream as Jerome Powell does his best to tank the crypto markets tonight with no rate cut and playing hawkish on future rate cuts. We are going to dive into it all. We're going to look at the charts and I'm going to explain why I am still super bullish and this is just a bit of a blip on the way to the next leg up. Much higher prices and new all-time highs coming very soon, which some people don't seem to believe, but I'll explain why and I'll show why in some charts shortly. Drop some questions in the chat if you've got anything you want to understand from today's press conference. But yeah, another press conference that just didn't really say much. A lot of jawboning, a lot of politics being played, a lot of infighting going on in America right now, but as always the US controls the global economy, so we have to look at it, we have to understand it, and we'll look at a few other key events from today that no one seems to be picking up on. We'll look at altcoins and yeah, let's dive in. Bitcoin currently down just below $116,000. We got up as high as 118.7 earlier before retracing sharply. Obviously, Jerome Powell pretty much started speaking here and the market went into a big dump. For me, it's really easy for me to say this, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle with this when they hear me remain bullish during times like this, but this is all just manipulation. It's all games. We know the market's going much higher. Do you think Michael Saylor bought $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin this week just on a whim if he thought markets were going to go much lower? These games are being played because the market is going much higher. I do believe we're going to get an all-time high in the next few weeks. I think we're going to go into a euphoric stage in the next couple of months, and I think the end of 2025 is going to be very fruitful for everybody, and we're going to see all-time highs across the entire market. I think right now, basically it's just testing everybody once again. We've been through worse tests than this. Remember, Bitcoin is still up above 100k. We've got XRP above $3 despite today's drawdown, and some of the prices aren't even as low as last Friday. So it's all about perspective. It's all about the bigger chessboard that's at play with the macro world, and that's why I don't really buy too much into this dump. No matter what happens, I'm pretty convinced that we're going to see a rate cut in September. But on top of that, there is massive flows of liquidity coming. We've got stablecoins, we've got Treasury buying their own bonds now, and we have huge regulation pro-crypto coming into the space. So I don't think now's the time to be bearish. I think it's just a bit disappointing. I think everybody expected higher prices after tonight's news. Let's have a look where we could settle off. So we've spoke about this for a while. This target down here, $112,000. I'm not convinced we get there. I think we maybe get as low as this wick low here. We do typically see big wicks get filled. So we might get as low as 114,800. Maybe even a little bit lower, maybe 114.5, 114.2, something like that. Lure in the shorts and then reverse much higher. Let me just pull up a graph that actually shows you why I think we will go much higher very soon. So it's this here. So this shows a lot of the leverage trading taking place, and as you can see, over the last few days we've pretty much wiped out all the leverage below us. So there's still a bit of Bitcoin 5 to 10x leverage below us. There's very little Solana leverage left. SWI, very little. Ethereum, there's some 5x, and the XRP, some 5x leverage below us. But above us, we have huge amounts of leverage starting to pile up. The blue is low leverage, the orange and red is high leverage. The more red it is, the more risky the trades are. So for me, this looks super bullish because we have huge amounts of shorts that will get liquidated when we start to move back up. And you can see some of these moves, they're not even huge moves. SWI, $4, it's trading today around 350, I think. Let's pull it up. 367, so it's not even that low. So you're talking, what, a 10% move higher, and SWI takes out all this leverage. You look at Solana, down at $172 today, wiped out all that leverage. But you can see huge amounts of leverage just up to 185, and then obviously you've got Bitcoin. Anything above 120k is going to be massively beneficial for shorts getting liquidated. We then see cascading liquidations that then pumps the price. You've then got people that are on the sidelines buying into the market, going long. So I think right now it's just about kind of hunkering down while prices retrace. But like I say, prices aren't even that low. Bitcoin 116k on the grand scheme of things isn't that terrible. I actually wouldn't surprise if we finished today much higher. This seems like a clear manipulated flush. You look at some of the other charts. Let's look at the 4 hour on Ethereum. Barely dropped, to be fair, got as low as 3680. Still way above last week's prices. XRP not putting in a new low, which is bullish. I do think we could fill this wick down to 296, but again, still pretty bullish. And then you've got BNB, which 773. It'll be interesting to see where we close out. If we close above 786, again, it's bullish. We're just back testing, we're flushing out leverage, and we're getting rid of a lot of the weak hands in the market. Looks like Bitcoin's bouncing already. So for me, it is a bit of a annoying time. It's probably frustrating for a lot of people, but I'll show you a few reasons why I'm bullish now. So this is one of them. So this liquidation map, pretty interesting, wiped out all the leverage below. If we look at this here, we've got the Treasury Secretary of the US stating that crypto welcome home. That happened a few minutes ago. So obviously tonight they're planning on releasing their crypto report. Probably not a lot will change in that. You've got the Treasury now announcing that they're going to double the amount of buybacks they do. So the Treasury's buying its own debt back off the market, and it's going to double the amount it's buying back. That means that it's basically stealth QE, so it's QE without calling it QE. It's going to provide liquidity to the market, and I think that's going to be bullish for money supply, which obviously benefits crypto. And then you've got the fact that despite no rate cut, it was the most divided Fed in 32 years. So the first time two have dissented, a big kind of slap in the face for Powell. I think it does undermine him. Be interesting to see how September goes. Obviously we don't have a rate cut in August, so not a lot of this nonsense in August, which I actually think is bullish. And then you've got the rate cut percentages. So by December, it's still the most favourable position that there's going to be 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. So all in all, not a lot has changed today in the markets. You're now seeing September drop a little bit. I think that changes by next week. I'm pretty confident we get a rate cut in September. As we look at Bitcoin back up at 160,300, I don't know where we settle out tonight. I wouldn't be too stressed about it. I think the market will probably correct a little bit tonight, and then over the weekend we could see some bullish moves. Let's have a look across the market as well, because we've still got some big earnings to come this week. So tonight we have Meta releasing earnings. We have, I think Microsoft's already Microsoft tonight, Meta, I think Coinbase might be tomorrow night. Yeah, Coinbase tomorrow night. We've got Robinhood tonight, and we also have Amazon and Apple to report this week. Tomorrow night, the big news for me is MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy will release their earnings. It's likely that the earnings are going to be the biggest record beat of their previous earnings. On top of that, it's going to qualify MicroStrategy to join the S&P 500. The reason that's so bullish is when they join the S&P 500, every single index fund that allocates to the S&P 500 is going to have to buy MicroStrategy, and that's obviously going to give them Bitcoin exposure, and on top of that, that'll give them more capital to deploy in Bitcoin. And as we said earlier, 2.5 billion purchased this week. You see the Russell retracing today. It was up at a high of 2268, back down. The S&P 500 retracing from all-time highs. Same with the Dow and the Nasdaq. I still think there is a chance that this is a local top for stock markets with all the massive earnings this week. Alright, let's have a look at the chart. Let's see who's in. Dex in, fake out before Insane Moon. That's exactly what I think is happening right now. We have Kieran's in, Bag 2 Mil, St. Powell playing games, 100%. What's our thoughts on Richard Hart? I think Richard Hart's a scammer. Yeah, I wouldn't be too bullish on Pulse Chain. I think he tried to rug it last year. Niall, don't know who that's aimed at. Niall. And then we've got crypto buys. Come on XLM, got a lovely 17x leverage on. Risky play over FOMC. Let's have a look and see how you're getting on. I suppose it depends when you entered. And I assume are you short? Are you long? Let's have a look. I mean, you filled the FVG, the fair value gap here. There's still quite a big one down to 26 cents. Don't know if you'll get that low on the daily. Bouncing off these candle lows back from January, and these wick highs from 2021, so might be a nice area to buy here if you were entering here. But to be honest, trading around these big news events, the market moves so quickly. You look at Bitcoin on the 15-minute chart, like absolute plunged down, wiped out loads of leverage. So yeah, you need to be careful what you're doing during big news events. Yeah, Sean, I saw copper dropping. That was because Trump's tariffs don't impact copper, I believe. But I still think energy commodities are the play of the next 5 years. If you look at everything that's happening in AI right now, there's not enough energy. No country has enough energy, maybe China, to actually power these AI data centers. You saw Tesla have just bought a power center. They've actually just bought a power station and they're importing it into America to power the data centers that they need for all the AI with robotaxis, with XAI. So yeah, I still think it's a good play long term. But yeah, I think that's part of the problem with the markets this year is Trump is basically a bit of a wrecking ball, which means that you never know what's going to happen overnight. So you could go to bed, everything's all fine, you wake up, something's been announced, something's happened, and markets worldwide react quite violently. And the problem you've got in this kind of market that we live in is there's so much algorithms trading across all markets. So when something happens, they just automatically react. So you look at tonight, so Bitcoin's down nearly 2% on the day, XRP 2%, but you've got some altcoins down 5%, quite a lot. You've got Polkadot, Uni, Algo, Aave, Avalanche, VeChain, Filecoin, Atom, Chainlink. They're all down 5% plus. A big part of that is because it's just algorithms, it's market makers, just market selling across the entire crypto space. It's not actually real people selling tokens. So that's what causes a lot of these flushes as well. So yeah, that's a big problem this year so far. Why does Swissborg keep delisting coins? The biggest reason is liquidity. So if a token doesn't have enough liquidity on either the exchange that they're listed on or on DEX, Swissborg can't the coin can't trade. So we saw that with UTK. Let me see if I can pull it up actually. So you look at this, a lot of these numbers are fake, so it's quite hard to see, but there's not actually a lot of depth. $1,000 trade would make the price drop over 2%. So obviously Swissborg want users to be able to trade, buy and sell without having huge slippage. So without decent depth here, I'm not entirely sure what this one is. Because of that, they just can't allow it to transact. So most of the time it's just due to liquidity and allowing the users to actually buy and sell, because the problem is if they let you buy the token and then there's not enough liquidity there, when you try to sell, you're not actually going to be able to take a lot of the profit. So we saw this with LimeWire last year, I think, or the year before. Somebody bought a lot of it, tried to sell just on a market sell, and the liquidity was really thin, and that meant that when they actually, I think they were up 150k, but the realized profit became 60k because there was so little liquidity for that trade. So that's why it's just about user, I don't want to say protection, but more about user experience. Yep, Alvaro mainnet launching on, I think it's the 12th of August. They actually have a huge announcement. I think it's going to come out this week. Let me find out. Niall, nobody's going to tell you how much they're spending or investing. That's like asking how much is in their bank. Yeah, Connor, Alvara's going to be hugely bullish. I think there's going to be quite a lot of marketing in the run-up to the launch of the mainnet. And I also think their announcement that comes this week is going to be very bullish for price action, but also for everybody that holds the token. So let me know in the chat, how's everybody feeling with the market? How's everybody feeling with the way the bull run's going so far? If you're not in CC Pro, I'll drop the link. CC Pro is our private members community. We have loads of members only updates. We have a lot going on, especially at times like this when the market is moving so quickly. We've got a members only special stream coming very soon as well. Zubair, good question. Not for Borg actually. There is limit orders for certain tokens at the moment. I think they're just rolling it out bit by bit, but not for Borg actually, interestingly. I'll maybe see if I can find out when. Lewis is tired, but he's here for it. Yeah, I think I think if you're a Bitcoin maxi, you are chill. You're like you're fine. Like you've had a great run. You're up, what, 5-6x, easy. You should be up at least 5x. But I think if you're just in altcoins, which majority of people are, I am, the majority of my holdings are altcoins, it has been a really tough market to the point where you'd almost say altcoins haven't really broken out into the proper bull run yet. But I think that's perfectly normal. I actually think that's expected at this stage. So if you look at, let's look at the total market caps. If you've been on stream, you know I do this quite a lot. Interestingly, if you look at what's actually happened for the total market cap today, we're just kind of filling this wick, back testing all-time high. So we're still very bullish, even with the price drop. But if you look at, you know, total market cap leading the way, total 2 still in the trenches, not even made a new high since December, and still well short of all-time high. So that's why everybody's suffering. If you look at total 3, the picture's just as bad, if not worse. We're at the 50% retracement, and the others chart is an absolute disaster down at the 382 level. But that's why sentiment's so tough for altcoin holders, because the further you've went out on the risk curve, and by that I mean the lower down the market cap altcoins you hold, the further behind Bitcoin you actually are. But that's fine, because we know that long term we're going to play catch up, and when the altcoin market moves, it can move really quickly, and when money flows in, it doesn't need to be trillions of dollars like it does with Bitcoin. It can be a few billion that sparks a massive rally across the altcoin market. So right now it's frustrating, but this literally shows it so clearly. So the total 2 is above the 702, the total 3 is below the 702, above the 618, and the others chart is at the 382. So that visualization alone just shows you how far behind the others chart is versus Bitcoin. So it's just about patience right now, which I know everybody's sick of, but normally it's when it gets boring that something big happens. When we're dumping red day after day after day after day, we eventually find a bottom. Those bottoms are actually the most boring times. Going sideways, the most boring times. But that's when weak hands leave the market. And I think we're very close to a breakout, and it's going to be much higher. The other thing that I think everybody needs to pay attention to is we are at the end of the month. So tomorrow is the monthly candle close. We're going to set a new all-time high monthly candle close up. No matter where we're going to close above 107. So we're going to set a new all-time high. On top of that, at the end of every month we see these big moves. So let's have a look at. So there's June. We basically dumped the last 2 days of June, and then July sparked the move higher. A lot of this is to do with options trading. So I'm actually going to put together a guide for options trading, just if anyone's interested, for CC Pro. But basically when you trade options, what a lot happens with institutions is they all trade the same prices, so it causes almost like a stop for the price. So the price runs up, everybody's trading the 120k options, and that causes price to just be suppressed below that level. Eventually, once those options expire, which is typically at the end of months, end of quarters, then it's like a pressure valve getting released, and then the price can run up. Options trading is really interesting, so I've actually wrote a guide, a training kind of guide on options, but it's a way of hedging your risk, but also earning as the price moves and benefiting from the volatility of Bitcoin. So if you're in CC Pro, you'll get that in the next week or so, once I've kind of fleshed it out and just made sure it makes sense. We'll maybe do a live stream on it, because it's something that's going to be talked about a lot over the next couple of years, and I think it's another avenue for people making money rather than just futures trading. So yeah, that's why I think we could see a bullish move in the coming days. Let's have a look through the market. Dogecoin back to the 200-day moving average. That could be a bullish back test, I think. So let's have a look. So if we look at Bitcoin, let's switch tack. So let's look at where I would get concerned if we dropped. So for me, if we lost 112k, if we got a daily close below 112k, that would probably signal that we would go into some form of downtrend for the next month or so, similar to these two. So 112k on Bitcoin. For Ethereum, it can actually drop as low as $3,000 before anything really gets bearish. You look at here, this was, you'd probably class this as the last high before this move. So as long as we stay above kind of 3035, 3050, you're still bullish. And that to a lot of people might scare them, because obviously they are expecting much higher, but the market's still bullish. XRP, for me, to be fair, I'd like to see XRP recover in the next couple of days. I think we've put in a high, we're putting a higher low. So again, anything kind of above this area here, I'd say above 265, you're bullish. If we put in another higher low around $3, that would be extremely bullish for me, and that would just signal that we're building support, and then the next leg will go even higher. You've got Binance Coin. Be interested to see where we close the daily tonight, because it's been pretty volatile over the last few days. Up, down, all the way down. It does look like we're going to bounce around here. If we close the daily for Binance Coin for BNB above 794, that is a really bullish signal for the market, especially because it's an all-time high. And then Solana, you'd like to see it stay above 167, potentially 158. So there is key levels you need to watch to the downside, but I don't think we're anywhere near them. If you look at Bitcoin on the daily, we're down less than 2%, Ethereum less than 2%, and XRP less than 2%. Smaller altcoins crushed. That's just what happens. If we look at stablecoins, so we've spoke a lot about stablecoins. Every stream we speak about stablecoins. We just continue to go higher and higher with stablecoin market cap. If we look at Tether, up again today. This is such a bullish signal. I think in the next few weeks or so, we're going to see an explosion in stablecoins. So right now we're creeping up, some days a couple of percent, some weeks a few percent. In the next few weeks I expect something like a 10% move in a day, and that will be either a big bank or a big institution getting into stablecoins once Genius Act is actually signed into law and actually being used, as opposed to just talked about right now. And that's going to be hugely bullish for Bitcoin. Dominance looks like it could put in a lower high, which would be very bearish, which would be nice. We need to break this green bar. As soon as we do, I think we drop pretty quickly. But for now, this is a bearish back test. It's just about waiting out this chop sideways, and then we'll drop, and that'll be very bullish for crypto. Let me show the DXY chart. It's quite a bullish move on the DXY, mostly because it's been a bearish week for other currencies. This, to me, isn't the worst thing for crypto, because actually in this rally here, in this double bottom back in 2021, altcoins performed really well, so it's not too concerning. And I actually think in the coming days we'll hear about the Treasury printing money. Start of August, they've already committed that in Q3 and Q4 they're going to issue $1 trillion worth of debt. So August, September is going to be big months for debt, and then we're into October, November, December, where I think we'll have at least one rate cut by then. So there's loads of conditions turning bullish for crypto in the coming months. Jamie, somebody asked us in CC Pro, actually. I'm not sure if it was yourself. Somebody asked about USDC, USDT depegging. Typically, you don't really see. So I can show you. So like, this is the history of Tether. So obviously there's been some crazy moves from time to time, but it doesn't typically depeg. Tether is now $165 billion company. I'm not sure what Circle is, but Circle's IPO'd now, so it's trading on the stock exchange. So I wouldn't worry about those two depegging. Typically, depegging happens with some of the algorithm stablecoins. If you remember Luna, that was a disaster, and that was pure manipulation. People went after Luna to crush the stablecoin and the Luna token. I don't see that happening for Tether or Circle, simply because they're too big now. They have so much capital. Plus, you would argue that USDT and USDC are now getting to the bracket of being too big to fail, a bit like some of the banks. Tether's one of the biggest holders of US government debt. If something happened to Tether, they would have to sell that debt. If they started unloading that debt, the government would probably help them out, in all honesty. So yeah, I wouldn't stress too much about depegging. I actually saw this, I think somebody was asking in relation to USDC, because there's USDC yield on Swissborg, and somebody was saying it could be risky because if it depegs, it's not really a concern for USDC. Let's have a look at gold, down today. Obviously stronger dollar normally works against gold. We're seeing it break out of this ascending triangle. We could end up down here, 3123. I don't think that's bad. I think a cool off for gold is probably overdue. Bear in mind, gold typically trades up a little bit, sideways, up a little bit, and since February 2024 we are up over 64%, which is a ridiculous move on gold. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit more downside, maybe come down here, maybe even fall short of that, maybe fall 3173 or something like that. Perfectly healthy for gold, and I do think we'll see gold at $4,000 in the next 6 months, especially with the amount of money printing that's going to happen around the world. So have a look at some other coins. Polkadot seems to get a lot of attention. Basically back at this level we've have marked out on the channel for a while. If we it'd be good to close above 380 for Polkadot. You can see key level here, here, key level back in here. Just so many touches on this level. Good to close above that. If we do close above it, it is a bit of just almost like a spring back test, and then we can move higher. So that would be really bullish. In the long run, I think this would be quite a good entry point if you were to trade it. It also has bounced off this wick high from the 2nd of July, so easy to manage risk. If you were trading something like this, you could easily just enter, well, especially now that it's here, you'd probably want to wait for the daily candle close, but say you entered here, you could just put your stop loss below these candle highs, and then put your stop loss maybe somewhere here, target the May high, whatever you risk, you've got a 6R return on that. That would be quite a nice little trade. Yeah, Lewis, to be fair, this is exactly what we kind of said. Everybody should, especially if they listen to us for the past 3 or 4 years, like, crypto is a game. Like, you are up against smart money. You're fighting against market makers, centralized exchanges, Wall Street now, big money players. That's what you're up against every single day. They will do everything they can to make you bored, depressed, fed up, think you're going crazy in order to sell so that they can buy and then benefit from the upside. And they will absolutely send this market when they think they've deflated everybody and they've scared people out, they've shaken people out, and they've accumulated as much crypto at a cheap price. That's literally the aim of the game. So a big news event, maybe Powell's a bit more hawkish than people expected, crash the prices. People think, oh, that's it, we're not getting a rate cut in September, it's going to be 3 months of down and to the right, so I'll sell and buy back cheaper. And those opportunities don't come. I've showed this a number of times, but like this wick here is a prime example of what we've spoke about. We went to 98k, we should have went much lower, we should have went to 97, we should have even probably went down here to 95. We didn't. Why? Because we don't allow people to buy lower. We don't allow people to buy where they want to buy. It's the same when we crashed here, crashed to 74k in April because of the tariffs. We should have dropped much lower to 72k. We didn't. Why? Because we don't allow people to buy in at the price they want. That's the name of the game. It's just pure manipulation. So yeah, we're bouncing. That's why I said it would be interesting to see something like BNB. Like, if we can close above the 794 level, then we'd probably have quite a nice weekend. XRP looking pretty healthy already. Let's see, total 2. Not looking terrible. And total market cap staying above the all-time high. Yeah, Alex, sure thing. So obviously it's still lagging the market completely. Gaming has just been destroyed of late, as it always does. Gaming always does bad in a kind of non-risky altcoin degen world. Crypto gaming will have a massive rally this year, I expect. Again, another token that is so low you wouldn't expect it to make new lows. So from here, I think quite a nice entry. It depends if you hold a lot, it depends when you've been buying it, but hopefully you've been scooping some up down in this 237 to 240 range. Price target depends what you want to go off. This was obviously the December high, this was the March 2024 high, and you've got this local high from January 2023. Let's take the January 2023. It's the highest. Realistically, price target potentially $52. I don't understand. I don't know the tokenomics. That seems crazy. That's a 20x from here. But like I say, gaming's been absolutely destroyed. So I would need to look into it more. What I would say is, I mean, it was one of the biggest gaming tokens of the last bull run, so you would expect it to have a bit of a recovery. this level here, yeah, $19, this peak from November 2022, I would expect to get taken out. Coincides with the candle bottom from May 2022. And also this semi-resistance level from 2021, so you would expect that to be a key level. Break that, test its support, and then there is no sell pressure in this chart. You look at it straight up, straight down, so you could see it move quite quickly up to the $45 range, but huge upside potential once the gaming narrative comes. The only problem is you might be lagging the market for a while. It might take a wee while for that gaming narrative to spill over, so but hopefully you've been buying in here, or at the very least the $4 range. About to pump, open interest just exploded. Let's have a look at, I'll have a look at Sushi in a second. Let's have a look at Chainlink. Apparently Chainlink's been named in the crypto report, so might see some move in that. It looks like the White House has said they will develop strategies that could be used to acquire Bitcoin for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I've said it for 6 months, maybe longer. They're going to create bonds backed by Bitcoin. That's how they're going to accumulate Bitcoin for the reserve. That's how they're going to lower yields. That's how they're going to use Bitcoin to finance this government. And to be quite frank, it's genius. And it would be stupid not to do it. If anything, companies, other countries should try and do it first. But it is the easiest way to accumulate Bitcoin without spending taxpayers' money on Bitcoin, because that is never going to happen. $212 million liquidated in 60 minutes from the crypto markets. So that's what you're up against. Let's have a look at Sushi. Perfect back test of the daily 200. Yeah, looking very nice. That is, yeah, as long as we hold above the 200-day moving average, if we bounce from here, this would be an unreal entry. So again, if you were entering, you'd want to wait for the daily close, but say you don't, you could just put your stop loss down even as low as this. I like to have quite a big chunky stop loss because trades move, you let it breathe, and then you could literally just let this run up here. It's a 9R. That's nice. But yeah, some nice moves today, to be fair, and maybe we've just closed some of those gaps that existed. Hedera actually not too bad after retracing to the 382. CRV still looking really strong. Nice bit of consolidation. When this thing moves next, I expect it to take out this 132 level. And CRO back above this support level. Testing its support today, hold above it, and then we probably go higher, 23 cents as target. You can see this back test the 200-day moving average. That was a great entry. and then we are much higher. Yeah, I could see Sushi going in all-time high. Yeah, I've said why for ages, but stablecoins, DEX-only tokens, DEX volume, AI, all that is going to benefit Sushi and other DEX tokens. Arbitrum, another perfect backtest of the 200-day moving average. Again, just hold above it. We're also trying to stay above this candle close from June. If we stay above that and the 200-day moving average, then I think that's pretty bullish. And I think, you know, we're almost going to finish back in this channel. If we close the day back in this channel, if BNB closes back above this blue line, then I think we're going to have an amazing few weeks of it. And I think MicroStrategy tomorrow night is definitely something to watch, because if you're so I had some stats on it. I don't know where I've got them actually. I say I had some stats. ChatGPT gave me some stats, but the performance of the S&P 493 or whatever it is, basically all the companies bar the Mag 7, is like 1% this year. Mag 7's up huge. So if you're a company looking at MicroStrategy and they're about to put in a record earnings beat just by buying Bitcoin, why would you not just go and copy them? It doesn't seem to make sense to me that these companies have no revenue, record debt, like just struggling companies. It doesn't really make sense to me why they don't go and copy the MicroStrategy playbook. And what I actually think is going to happen is they're going to copy the MicroStrategy playbook, but they're going to do it with altcoins because they're going to chase more risk and more upside. And I think we've seen a few Solana treasury companies. We've seen, I think I've seen a couple XRP, definitely seen a SWE treasury company. I think we'll see a lot more of that this year. And they'll use stupid reasons to justify why they picked that token. But yeah, watch for that in the coming months, especially when ETFs start getting approved. Let's see if we can actually find some news on that ETF. Yeah, so here's a stat. If Bitcoin ETFs didn't exist, the Ethereum ETF would be the fastest ETF in history to hit $10 billion by 2x the closest rival. So it just shows the power of ETFs and the institutional buying power that can come with some regulation. And that's why we've said all along that crypto ETFs are going to be huge for this space. Bitcoin back at 117k. Everybody that sold earlier is probably regretting it. Jupiter still looking pretty good, to be fair. I think this is a coin we talk about a lot. A bit like Sushi, I think it's got a big end of the year hype. Is the hype dying? No pun intended. Just closing these wicks, staying above the 200-day moving average again. I think it'll be interesting to see how the next few days play out. I think by the weekend we could, if we hold these levels, there's no reason why we couldn't be much higher. See the total market cap's bounced quite nicely. It was down as low as 3.72, so recovered 60 billion in the past few hours. Yeah, 55 billion. See if this has changed since. Market starting to price in. More likely that the rate holds. I think this will change. We've got 2 months as well. A lot of data to come. I wouldn't buy into that too much right now. But a huge day for the markets. Big move in crypto as well. Bitcoin dropping on the news. Looks like it's recovering. The whole market doesn't look too bad to me at all. We've checked back to some key levels. Held the 200-day moving average on a lot. We're going to test the all-time high for the total market cap. Build a base of support. Frustrate everybody. Shake people out. And then we move higher. That's pretty much the game. So that is all for tonight. We'll be back as soon as any news happens. We will have updates for CC Pro members in Discord tomorrow night as more earnings break. There is earnings coming in the next hour, so we will update everyone, and if there's anything that people need to know, we will have them in CC Pro. I'll be back later this week with some more streams. I will see you very soon.